Welcome to the Maverick Paradox Podcast, where we explore what it is to be a maverick and discover effective modes of leadership. I am Judith Germain, and my mission is to propel the maverick mindset into a world where character and integrity will ultimately have a higher premium than personality and bureaucracy. So thank you for joining me on this journey. If you would like to continue with me, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. And today, our guest is Erkan Ali. Hi, Erkan.
Hiya.
How are you today?
Good to be on. Yeah, I'm good. I'm sitting in my new house. I just moved 2 weeks ago. I'm getting used to where to sit, where to hang out in the house. You know, in terms of I only got Wi-Fi yesterday, so hopefully I've picked the perfect spot. No, but I'm really excited to be on the call with you today.
Thank you. Tell me a bit about you or what you do. What would you like to share?
What I'd like to share is, and it's always a good question. I mean, I'm 50 years. I was 50 in July, so there's a lot to share. So I'll condense it somewhat. You know, I grew up in family business, and when you run a family business, you know, by definition, you have to collaborate. By definition, there's natural leaders within a family. And there's also authoritarian roles like parents and mother, father, brother, sister. If you're the oldest, you get a different kudos, especially in our culture. So I grew up having to be part of a family and a family-run business. And I kind of learned the skills of leadership and communication very, very early on in life. And also a sense that together we can achieve more than we would if we were all, you know, in competition with each other, so to speak. So I grew up in that entrepreneurial, family-owned background, which is, I think, it's really set me up for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's very fortunate. So you talked about being in the family business helped with the collaboration, and I noticed that you've set up a company called BECOLLABORATION, which feels to me quite maverick, quite willfully independent in terms of what it's meaning to do. Could you enlighten me a little?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's a lot more maverick than probably people might be aware of at this stage. So I'll aim to reveal why it's maverick. I guess we're brought up in a society that says, you know, you are the effect of authority. You're told what to do. You know, at school, the bell rings, we have to go and eat. The bell rings, we can go home. The bell rings, you know, all sorts of things happen. And when you start to pull people together to collaborate and become engaged with each other, a more level playing field, I find that people tend to want to know who's in charge. You know, who's going to tell us what to do? And one of the things that, in terms of the maverick side of BECOLLABORATION is what if we put a load of great people in a room and started to share our best stuff? And the metaphor we use is, imagine I invited you to a picnic and I say, Judith, bring your best dish. What would you bring? And you put it in the middle and the blanket at the picnic, and everyone tries your stuff. You try the people's stuff, and we all end up being better for it. So that's really a strong part of BECOLLABORATION, is this idea of knowledge share, contribution to each other. But if everyone's bringing their best dish, someone's getting something, some potato salad. Everyone's getting what they need from it. You know, you might like the chicken wings more than the salad, but you know, whatever. You know, everybody gets what they need, and it kind of has that kind of co-creative, nurturing experience, I'd say. Which is quite confusing for a lot of people. My experiences in it.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I've attended some of your meetings, and what I like about it is the fact that it's not overly structured, but there is some structure, and I like the fact that there's no one in charge, so you could just go and do your own thing. I love it. Because I hate that kind of business network where you just come and they say, bring your cards, and you're just dishing them out. And it's like, I don't know if I want to give you my card. I haven't decided if I want to even talk to you yet. You know?
Yeah, listen, one of I saw this literally happen. I'm not saying it's something we should do often, but someone gave a new guest gave a card to one of our collaborators, and he took it, he threw it on the floor. He said, I don't want to look at your piece of paper. I want to look at you. I want to know who you are. What's important to you? What are you about? What you're passionate? And I'm like, kudos. You know, really, who cares what's written on your card? You're more than that. You're much more than what you do. You know, and that's really part of our philosophy at BECOLLABORATION, is that you're a human being first, and then there's all these other roles that you happen to you happen to be involved in, So yeah, get to know the person first and what makes them tick, what's important to them. And then, they may have some skills that you might be interested in, So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one of the things that what works with my Maverick Paradox working lunches, because it's very much like that, where you're talking to the human first, and then at that point you decide whether you want to work with them. But it's not business comes, but it's not a business network. So,
No.
Do you know what I mean? So I see a lot of commonality between the two of us. What I'm interested in knowing as well is that what can come from being in B collaboration, because I know one of the things that you're striving to do is to form a community. So do you think by doing a community you can get more opportunity? What's the point of it?
Well, I think let's just compare. I don't like overly comparing things, but if you look at business referral networking, for me, it's very much in the paradigm of fierce scarcity competition. It's about, locking out the competition, refer to people like and trust. And I'm not out to beat anybody up who's doing that. Really that's a transactional way of working, and it allows you to get leads and opportunities. And that's great. I mean, and probably everyone should be networking, whether formally or informally or however you do it. You need to be doing that. But what's happening with collaboration and communities, we're building relationships. We're building understanding of each other. So it isn't about referral. It's about, well, how can I take Judith and implement her in some of my projects? Or how could Judith involve me in a project she's involved in? And how could we create something together that we couldn't do on our own? So if you really want to stretch your skills, your abilities, achieve more ambitious projects, well, the reality is you need to engage with other people, because you can only go so far on your own. If you're doing your technical work and you're doing it and you can do that on your own, you should go do that. That's great. But if you want to do something more ambitious, more worthy of you, something that's going to inspire you, then I would say developing your collaborative skills is not just a nice to have, it's a necessity. Because there comes a point when you're working with people that you're going into groups, and your relationship with groups will limit what you can achieve in life. I think that's probably well understood. And going back to something you said earlier on, I thought was really interesting. You said Maverick Leadership as opposed to, was it mandate and authority? I don't think you said that, but you kind of distinguish between the two worlds, I suppose, of this is my position, this is who I am, so therefore this is what you can accept of me. Whereas if you're a Maverick leader, who you are speaks for itself, not mandated.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I love that. Yeah, totally. Because I've been doing some work with some larger companies recently on Maverick Leadership, and one of the things I say is Maverick Leadership is who you are. It's how you live your life. It is not a bunch of techniques, and getting them to shift to say, this is not a leadership program where I'm going to give you some skills which you may or may not use. This is going to change the way you are, which will benefit you and other people around you. And that's quite a paradigm shift.
And how wonderful for them, to be able to actually shift who they are as opposed to learn some new skills. Because how much stuff have we learned in life that we don't apply? We all know how to get fit. We all know how to lose weight. That knowledge in itself doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference. It makes no difference, And I think the other thing about this business card referral thing, people have been trained and conditioned. Here's my card, and that should elicit some kind of outcome. And the reality is that what you do isn't who you are. That just happens to be something you do. And I think in this age of enlightenment and this age of more awareness, I think people want more than just, I'm an accountant, I can do books.
Yeah, and I think it's because people come out that corporate world and try to recreate it in their one-man band. Sure. So they take all the behaviours, and it's not going to work.
No, it doesn't work. It leaves them. And going back to the paradigm that we're challenging at the moment is this fierce scarcity competition paradigm. Then most experiences people are having or chasing for is the survival of the current paradigm, and it leaves them kind of, well, I say old, lonely, and right, but you know what I mean. It kind of leaves them disconnected or atomized. So building community and transforming who you are to love, connection, and abundance. Well, the relationship and the value in each other is more important than the transactional. And it doesn't mean we don't need the transactional, because we want to commercialize or make what we're doing viable, but that's not who we are. That's an outcome of what's important. And they're the kind of things we're instilling in the meetings through discussion, debate, provocation. You know, it's a really exciting place to be.
Yeah, and it's refreshingly different. So is this part of a bigger mission for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about
absolutely.
it. What is it that you want to see changing?
Listen, I think the mission is so big, most people probably hear it and go, what is he talking about? But this is what I've been saying for probably longer. You know, look, if we're going to go for a world of fierce scarcity, if we live in a world of fierce scarcity competition, I ask people, what's to become of us? What's going to happen to our children? Maybe our children's children. What's happening to our planet? Look around you. There's wars, there's disease, there's famine, there's debt. People are in survival. And I just don't think that's a world that I want to play a part in. What I'm more interested in is, rather than helping people survive in that paradigm, is what about if we transform it to one of love, connection, and abundance? Like think about the empathy of the species. You know, would we put more money into human welfare than we would into war and destruction? You know, I think it's a no. I mean, ask any person in the street or any family man or woman who have got kids and what they think about war. They detest it. They think it's horrendous. Yeah, there's more money being spent on war and industrial military complex than anything on the planet. So it says something about us as a species that's what we're committed to. I think Joseph Campbell said something very interesting. He said, if you want to know what society is, look at its biggest building. You know, what are they really committed to? And if you look around, the biggest buildings are shopping malls, banks, and military bases.
Gosh.
I know. So if we can turn that around by allowing people to really reconnect to each other, to collaborate, to share knowledge, to look out for each other, as opposed to what can I get out of Judith today? What about if the question is, how can I help Judith today? But it doesn't leave any less for me. And if Judith's asking the same question, how can I help Erkan today? That's a different question to what can I get out of this?
Yeah.
So when you asked me to come on the call, I didn't think, what am I going to get out of it? I thought, well, how can I contribute to your audience?
Yeah. And I think that's a socialized Maverick trait as well, isn't it? That need to collaborate, you know, as a default. Because as you said, you know, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, what do you want to talk about? You know, because it's a joint thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I want to talk about a world of love, connection, abundance, and what would be possible for us as a species, and what legacy. And we're using collaborative principles and methodology to help us achieve that. Sounds very serious, and it is at a level, but it's a lot of fun because you realise how silly we are and how stingy we are and how protective we are, and you know, you can't just wipe out decades of conditioning. It's an ongoing transformation. And I think as soon as you think you've worked it out, you realise that there's more to go.
Yeah, every time I've seen you, you have a huge smile on your face and a little kind of mischievous little twinkle in the eye. Do you think your maverick nature has affected the way you do things or how you get other people to help your mission?
I think I like Maverick. It was written in a vision and mission of mine, personal mission that I wrote about 5-6 years ago before BECOLLABORATION, and Maverick was in there. And I think a Maverick doesn't, in my opinion of this, right? I think a Maverick doesn't pay any heed to the rules.
Yeah.
They're working on a higher plane. So you don't have to follow the rules that everyone else is following and then trying to keep within. You can I love this line, you can plow your own furrow. You know, everyone's going in one direction. I've always done what I want to do. As long as I'm not harming anybody, I'm not causing any distress to someone else, I just play by my own rules. And they don't necessarily meet social rules. And I'll give you an example of that. When I was at school, do you like this one, Judith? When I was at school, I was about 13, 14 years old, and I was very I wasn't disrespectful to teachers, but I didn't buy their authority. I kind of felt like I've got my own authority, and I'm stuck here for now, right? I'm stuck here with you. You're stuck with me, but I'm not gonna bow down to your rules. I'm gonna operate for my own rules. And I was like that very young, even my parents. And basically, some of the teachers used to call me Gaddafi. Now, you know, that was the 80s, right? But it was like, he's not going to be told. He's going to do what he wants to do. And I've always done what I want to do. So if you love what I'm doing, great, get involved. If you don't, go do something else. That's your choice. And I don't meet many people that have that level of determination, self-actualizing, or courage to say, well, that's what everyone else is doing, but I'm going to do it this way. And I think that's what a maverick does.
Mm.
I think that's what mavericks do. They kind of go, yeah, I get what you're doing, but I'm not doing that. I'm doing this.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was having that conversation yesterday, and exactly that, saying that mavericks have a level of indifference that conformists just don't really understand. And I was talking to somebody, and she was saying that, certain things worry her about what other people think. And I'm like, why? And she couldn't. So it's really funny because I couldn't really understand why it would matter, and she couldn't understand why it doesn't matter. So it was quite,
totally.
It was quite an interesting conversation. And it's like, but if you know what you're doing is right, and as you said, because I have very much the same mantra as you, is like, first, do no harm. I'm very much like, if it's not harming, then it's just good to go. And she's like, yeah, but what happens if somebody doesn't agree with you? It's like, and I'm not quite sure why that's a stopper,
Well, I like the line, to thine own self be true. Like if I'm going to go along with something that doesn't fit for me, then I'm selling out on me. In our vision and mission, we use the poem The Invitation by Uriah Mountain Dreamer. And in it, there's a line that I love is, will you disappoint another to be true to yourself?
Yes.
Would you say, no, sorry, Judith, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't fit who I am, and stand strong with that? Like that's the right choice. That's the right choice for you, no matter how it leaves someone else feeling.
Yeah, definitely, without doubt.
It takes courage, doesn't it?
I think it may take courage for those who aren't mavericks, but I think for Maverick, it doesn't take courage because it doesn't make sense not to. So like in my book, I've written this book and it's called The Maverick Paradox: The Secret Power Behind Successful Leaders. And I talk about how socialized mavericks are very principle based, and they will lose their job or whatever if it goes against their principles. And I know I've been in situations where I've had to choose in a job and say, you know what, I'm not doing that. That's just wrong. It's just, I will not do it. And most mavericks go through that stage where we're saying it's wrong. So no, sorry, it's just not happening.
No. And I think if your values don't cost you something, then they're not really values, are they? There's a price to pay. That. Yeah, there's a price to pay to say, sorry, Judith. So if you came to me and said, okay, I've got this great scheme, we can con all these old ladies out of their life savings, we'll make millions. I'd look at you and say, no, we're not going to do that. Now that's an easy one. That's an easy one, right? But let's say you're with a client and you're working with a client, they're doing something that really goes fundamentally against your principles. Do you quit the client?
Yes.
No, a lot of people would never even consider that. But what can I do? Can't make a difference. I'm getting paid, blah, blah, blah. But would you make the stand? Well, look, if you don't change these ways, I'm out of it. I've done that. Fired the client. Now, I don't want to would they quit? I'm an amazing human being, but you just can't do it.
But that's because socialized mavericks' reputation is everything.
Yeah.
Because that's who you are. It's how you influence, because people know you and they know what you. So, if something happens, they can turn around and say, would he do that? No, that doesn't sound like him. And that in itself has currency. So so we jealously guard a reputation. But I don't think when the decision's being made, it is one of, will it harm my reputation? It's a value. No. It just so happens that's the consequence. It's a value judgment.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, well, if you're thinking about how people perceive you, make the decision, and that's not what we're talking about. That's something else. But if it's contrary to who you are, then it's a no-brainer. I think. But I want to ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So when you've been to BECOLLABORATION and you're getting people like adults, grown-up adults sitting in a room, and the freedom we give them, how was that experience for you? Just seeing, because we give a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you let people just jump in and say something or ask questions," and it's kind of we call it very much a co-created space. So even if you're a guest, you get to co-create with us, because it's not like you've turned up. You're going to be an audience in the room. You're part of the room. And I wonder what your thought of that was. In others, trusting the room to turn out the event, if you like, or turn out the result, as opposed to the people at the front of the room.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I enjoyed that because it allowed me to see the real person, and I couldn't work with somebody if I didn't know who they were. So I like the fact that it enabled people to really open up very, very quickly. And because there's trust in the room, as a guest, you kind of buy into that. And I've
Yeah.
seen it in other communities that I've helped to organise or run, where if you can hold that space and it's very
Yeah.
demonstrable that you are doing that, then people will trust in that.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
for me, there are... Go on.
No. So I've been interrupted, but it's not. It's an intentionally created space where then the co-creation happens. It's not that we just sit there and let anything happen. We intentionally create that co-creative experience where people can engage with each other with no permission, if you like. You know, it's open. Feel free to say what you want to say authentically.
Yeah, and for me, that's what's important. It's important for someone to be who they really are. And to be honest, I suppose I got to that point in life that I just don't have time to waste. So I don't want to do I just don't want to do the dance. I'm not into, small talk's great, but if I'm going to spend my afternoon in London, then it needs to count. And to count doesn't mean I make loads of money out of it. It means that I have a good exchange with people I want to be around, and that I learn something is challenging, something that's been useful. And for me, that time spent made sense. I learned something that I didn't expect to learn, and that was worth doing. I have no time anymore for any networking that requires me to dish out a card to someone I don't know and are boring to talk to.
It feels very
to be
cheap,
bored.
doesn't it? You feel like you've got to take a shower afterwards. You feel cheapened, they feel cheapened. But we had an interesting meeting yesterday with a capital asset fund manager, so someone can raise money for businesses. And he said to the person I was with, he said, you're a member of BECOLLABORATION, how much money you've made from it? And he just looked at me, he says, well, it's not the money that I've made, it's who I've become is priceless.
Oh, wow, that's deep.
And I'm like, and I thought, God, I've got to give him a $5 for that. But it's like when you up your game, and you become we have this quote from Angela Makepeace. It says, I get to be the best me I can be. And like, well, what more do you want out of life? What more could there be than being the best you can be? For now, there's always tomorrow and there's always next week. But for now, I'm up in my game because I'm part of this community, because people are contributing, they're sharing, they're helping, they're supporting, and that what goes around comes around. So then you take that, or we've had other collaborators. So you take what you learn here out there. It's not about making money at BECOLLABORATION, which we are working on. We have got a consultancy as well, which we'll talk about another time. But it's about personal evolution. It's about personal actualization, and going back to more audacious part of it, it's about self-organizing. So we talk about teal principles. So if people are not familiar with that, might want to look up spiral dynamics and Don Beck and the spiral. Basically, the high end of our consciousness is self-organizing, and you don't need authority, you don't need permission. You just be who you are and engage with people authentically, and magic happens. The byproduct.
Yeah, I think it's one of those fallacies to think that you can go to a networking event and you walk out with tons of business. I mean, sometimes that happens, but it doesn't happen if that's your intention for it to happen, if that makes sense.
No, you've got to work for that. You don't just walk into if it's a coincidence or an exception to the rule, fine. But networking is work. You've got to turn up every week. You've got to do your thing. You've got to prove your pitch. You've got to give your card. You've got to do the follow-up. You've got to set one-on-one. It's not like, even if you get business out of networking, the networking didn't give it to you. The working portion of it got you the business, so people forget that. So you need to be doing that whatever the environment, make your follow-ups, do your one-on-ones, know what makes you different, know your value, know who your sweet spot clients are. I mean, these are fundamentals of any business. So whether it's in a networking environment or wherever, those things they count wherever you are, yeah.
And I think the difference as well is that, if you're hiring a small business, or especially a micro business where it's just one man, you're not just giving that man the business, you're actually feeding his family. And that's, and that is something that people forget, and that's why it takes work, doesn't it? Because I don't know, you could go any networking event or community driven event and you could fall over like 15 coaches, 5 accountants, 2 web designers, you know. So where you spend your money depends on where you click. You know, gone are the days where, you know, you had a fantastic niche and you could just say, right, you know, my niche is like these 10 people. Now it's like, that's great, but I don't like you. So no.
Yeah, no, very good. Yeah. No, I think people want to work with people that they like and appreciate each other both ways. And I think that's where collaboration comes in as well. So if you've got a web designer and they love you and you love them and they love what you do and you love what they do, there's a level of mutual respect that you don't get if it's just, I've got some idiot building me a website, you know, or your relationship to them is they're commoditized, you know. And part of I want to touch on Engage, our consultancy. So if I've got 20 accountants, I've got 15 web designers and 5 video people and HR specialists, and people say to me, well, how do you know who to pick for the project? I think that's really simple. Think about the question you just asked. Who to pick? I've got 10 accountants. Which one do I pick? Right. And they look at me like really confused. And I say, who's the best for the client? That's who I pick. They're simple.
Well, your reputation relies on it. So you're not going to pick someone you don't know and trust. You're not going to pick someone who's got a reputation for not delivering.
But let's assume I've got 10 accountants that I know, like, and trust. I know what they do. I know their speciality. Who am I going to pick? Who's best for the client? That's always the first thing. You know, what's going to make the difference? What's going to make the biggest difference to the client and their situation is who we pick. It's not personality driven necessarily. It's going to be sweet spot delivery of what they do is going to be matched. It's a bit like a matchmaker. You know, you pick the people that you think are going to make the biggest difference for that business. And it's complicated. You know, it's not just about a set of books, is it? Especially with anything. It's not just a website. So knowing your people and building that community and that trust and that relationship with people. And also in the meetings, collaborators present. They present their skills, their history, their background. They educate each other through various slots in the meeting. And we get to go, you know, he's really good. His sweet spot is that. Oh yeah. If we know a client that needs that, then it's obvious who you're going to pick because they're going to make the biggest difference. And if they're delivering what they're really good at and what they love and what they've got track record in to somebody that needs that, then the person who needs the service gets a lot more value. The person delivering gets more enjoyment and satisfaction delivering it. And the money's just a byproduct because that's the way we operate. You know, imagine you're doing something you really love and then you happen to get paid. It's different from doing something you need to get paid for.
Yeah, big attitude change. I think it's probably a good place to stop. So thank you for coming. Will you come back again sometime?
I'd love to. I don't think 28 minutes is enough. Not for me and you anyway. We could talk for a lot longer. But what I'd like to do is take this opportunity to invite you to do our Journey of Possibility podcast as well, which lasts for about an hour and a half. So we could really let rip.
Oh, right. Well, that sounds exciting. Oh, we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah, I do that one with Jill. So we it's really great. It's a great way to dialogue with people and get into subjects and go off piste, you know, rather than staying on track, go off and explore a bit. So, but no, I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for tuning into the Maverick Paradox podcast. I hope you have enjoyed listening to my conversation with Erkan as much as I enjoyed having it. If you'd like to learn more about Mavericks and leadership, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. Alternatively, apply to join the Maverick Paradox exclusive Facebook group. And my website is maverickparadox.com. Find out how willful independence can ultimately change all our futures. Thanks again, and see you soon.